that button for me. All right, thank you, thank you. All right, good afternoon, 8th grade science class, both in person and online. We're gonna be covering the last assessment in our STAAR packet today, page 81 and 82. This assessment is over organisms and the environment, but we're gonna be going over today that in class. So you guys can open up to page 81. You'll need a pencil today, but that's it. No highlighter needed. All right. Try to square this up, guys. All right. Matching, guys. Matching is easy, but you need to make sure that you understand the definition for these words, okay? So let's start with the definition. It's always easier to start with the definition than the word. So we're going to read the definition and place it with its right vocab. So letter A, an organism that is hunted or eaten by another organism. Prey, good. Number 4, prey. What about an organism that a parasite lives on? Good, your host. Oh, sorry, that's a B. Host. Host meaning the parasite gets energy from the host. Letter C, an organism that makes its own food through photosynthesis. Good, they produce their own food. Number 1 is C, good. Letter D, an organism that lives in or on another organism, and there's a key word, and harms it. Parasite, good, D, parasite. What do we call an organism that hunts for its food? Good, consumer, or they are consumer, right? It's a consumer and a predator. Good, it's both. All right, consumers are also predators, but an organism that specifically hunts is a predator. E. And an organism that gains energy by feeding on another organism is a consumer. So we got our C, our F, our E, our A, our D, and our B. Now, we've spoken about environmental changes, right? These are things that happen to our environment that affect an ecosystem, that affect the organisms that live in it. There's both short-term and long-term, all right? Short-term effects are instant. They happen pretty quickly, and they affect the environment instantly, while long-term effects happen gradually over a period of time. It's not necessarily as noticeable right off the bat, but it will slowly get worse and worse and worse, all right? Or better and better, depending on the change, all right? But what are some examples of a short-term environmental change? Natural disasters, good. Natural disasters? Give me an example of a natural disaster that would quickly hurt an ecosystem. Earthquakes, good. What else? Volcano. Floods. I like floods, guys, because it happens a lot here in Texas. Floods. Natural disasters. Forest fires. All of these are short-term environmental changes. Natural disasters like floods, fires, earthquakes, all good examples. If these are short-term environmental changes, let's think about some long-term environmental changes. What's something good? Global warming. There's people that believe all kinds of things, but I can tell you right now, global warming is a natural process, but it has been sped up by human interaction. The Earth goes through cooling and heating phases, but we have drastically increased the amount of heating on this planet. We can see that all around us. Science doesn't lie. Of course, you're entitled to your own opinion. But global warming is a fact. All scientists will agree that global warming occurs. It's why is it happening so drastically now, which is the question. Not the fact that it happens. We know it happens. But why is it happening? So global warming is a good example. What's another long-term effect? Pollution. Your car will put out a little bit of pollution over a long period of time. If everybody had a car for the past 200 years, that's going to put out a gradual, pretty good amount of pollution, right? Another one, guys, deforestation. When they go grab trees, right, to make our favorite paper products with, right? They don't go and demolish an entire forest right away. They'll take it piece by piece by piece. They'll slowly deforest an area. They'll take all the trees away. That's deforestation, removing the forest from the environment. How many forests can you find in downtown Dallas? How many deer can you find in downtown Dallas? Exactly. They're correlated, guys. There used to be tons of wildlife here in Dallas, but as humans, we've developed and urbanized this area. Animals can't survive without their habitat. That's true. Dallas Zoo has some good habitats built, but they're artificial habitats, unfortunately. All right. Number 9 through 16, it just wants us to write A for abiotic, B for biotic. Remember, what does the word bio mean, guys? Living. Think of the word biology, the study of life, study of living things. Bio means living. Abiotic means not living. When you guys are thinking of this, don't forget, if it was once living, it's considered bio, biotic. Even though it's dead, it was once alive, so it's still considered biotic. So a skeleton of an animal, a dead animal, would still be considered biotic. Even though it's dead now, it's not living anymore, it once was living. So a rock, abiotic or biotic? Abiotic. It's not moving, it's not breathing, it's not eating, it's not reproducing. It is not living. Grass. Good. Grass breathes. It eats. Sunlight, I guess. Creates food. What about a bird? Biotic. What about elevation? Abiotic. Elevation is just how high off the ground you are, right? Has nothing to do with biology. Abiotic. Ooh, it's a good one. Sunlight. Abiotic. Good. Even though sunlight brings us all the life on our planet, the light itself is not living. It's part of our electromagnetic spectrum. Water. Abiotic. Good. A lizard. And a mushroom. Mushrooms are decomposers. They work by decomposing living things, but they themselves are living. Biotic. Good. Number 17, why is biodiversity important in an ecosystem? Evolution is one of the ways that we get a lot of biodiversity, but evolution is kind of right. Thinking about maybe natural selection almost. It's all about environmental changes, guys. If the environment changes, can you adapt? If you have a good biodiversity, you can. So guys, things like the ability to adjust to your environment. We'll write that. Biodiversity means you have the ability to adjust to your environment. It also provides a variety of food. The more food you have, if one of those food sources became extinct or was killed off, you can still survive. All right? Number 18. What's two similarities and two differences between primary succession and secondary succession? All right, let's start with our similarities. How are they similar? All right. Both can occur All right, we'll do the main similarity between primary and secondary succession. Primary succession, guys, is when you have a barren area and that area gets life. First thing that happens is rocks will form in an area. Those rocks will develop things like lichens or algae or moss. Those smaller plants will eventually evolve into larger plants like bushes, grasses, and then the larger plants like trees and forests. But both can occur in terrestrial or marine ecosystems. Okay. Another similarity, they grow and become more complex. Both grow and become more complex. And the only difference I want you to write down, sorry for writing so big, I'm sure you guys can squeeze it in. The only difference I want you guys to worry about is time. Time, all right? The biggest difference is that time, primary takes much longer than secondary. Primary succession takes much longer. Your primary succession is going to take a lot more time than your secondary succession because your primary succession is starting from nothing. Secondary succession, guys, would be what would happen after a forest fire. Nothing's left after a forest fire. Life has to come back. But the difference is there's already soil there. Now that soil is filled with nutrients. So secondary succession doesn't take as long. But for life to come back to an area, it's not that bad. But can you imagine if we were trying to create life on Mars right now? Try to send spores or oxygen, terraform it, you know? If we were to do that now, it would take a very long time to terraform Mars if we started now. Because it took a long time for Earth to get terraformed. I mean, Earth at one point was desolate. No life was on Earth at one point. And now look at all the life there is now. Number 19, list 3 ways humans depend on ocean systems on a daily basis. Think about it, guys. What are 3 ways that humans depend on the ocean? Water. Now, I know we can't drink salt water, guys, but the ocean evaporates. It goes up into the cloud and it comes back down onto our land as rainwater. So water. What else? Fish. Food. Fish. Crustaceans. Seaweed. All kinds of stuff we can eat in the ocean, right? You ever had seaweed chips? You can get them at some Asian American stores. You can find like seaweed chips. It's just like fried down or fried seaweed. It tastes like chips, kind of tastes like fish. So water, food. What about transport, guys? We use the ocean to transport people and goods. All right, now for the sad stuff. What are 2 ways that we're killing our ocean?
Plastic.
Pollution. That's a big one, guys. It includes plastic, oils, artificial chemicals, fertilizers, trash, right? All that stuff ends up in the ocean. Good. Overfishing. There's a lot of hungry people on this planet. We're trying to feed those people. But if we take too many fish out of a certain area, it destroys that ecosystem. Those fish can't reproduce. They can't make baby fish. We won't have that fish next season. Overfishing is a serious problem. One reason you go to the store and some fish is more expensive than others. Some fish is harder to get. Some fish is easy to get. Some fish you can farm. Some fish you got to catch naturally. All right, now, something that we're covering this next week, or not this week, the week right after, dichotomous key. Now, you've probably looked at one before. A dichotomous key is just a map telling you where to find your organism. So if you haven't seen one yet, that's fine. But the purpose of the dichotomous key is to identify an animal, okay? It's for identifying. The purpose of a dichotomous key is to identify organism. That's the whole purpose of the dichotomous key, is for identifying organisms. This is your dichotomous key, guys. Real simple. You go to the first one. You're looking at an animal. Say you're looking at this animal. You go, all right, is the animal a vertebrae or invertebrate? Well, it has a spine, so it's a vertebrae. Go to 2. You go to 2. Does the animal have wings? Well, nope, that animal doesn't have wings, so we go to 3. Does the organism have legs? It doesn't have legs. That means it's a snake. Okay? It's never this simple, much more complex, but it kind of gives you an idea. All right, talking about adaptations now. Adaptations. There are 3 different types of adaptations. First, we have behavioral. Then we have structural. And then we have physiological. See, YS. Behavioral, structural, and let me rewrite that word for you. Physiological. Now, guys, I'm not going to make you draw, all right? But a puffer fish is an example of a behavioral trait, right? A puffer fish will blow up when it feels threatened. It blows up, and that's a behavior, that's a defense mechanism. Structural would be like an animal with long legs. I don't know if I can draw a giraffe. We will see. And giraffe. And giraffe. All right, like a giraffe has long legs. It has long legs and a long neck so that it can reach the top of the tree and get the best leaves, get the best nutrients, right? So it can eat on the savannas. I don't know if I've ever really drawn a frog, so I'll see if I can draw a frog for this next one. Ribbit. Wow, that's a horrible frog. All right, that's supposed to be a frog. All right, and you can call it a poison frog. Some frogs, like those poison dart frogs in the Amazon, they develop a poison. So if you touch them, you die or you get really sick. All right, that's a physiological response to the environment. This animal clearly got tired of being eaten and it evolved, adapted to the environment. It was like, you know what? I'm just going to make something poisonous in my body that I won't want to be eaten. That's true. Bright colors usually are a good defense mechanism. Animals don't like to eat something that's too crazy colorful, right? All right, natural selection. I want you to put it in your own words, guys. Easiest way to do this, guys. Natural selection. It's organisms that are better suited for their environment are more likely to survive. All right, so organisms suited for their environment are more likely to survive and then reproduce. And they'll pass on those good traits. Sorry, my handwriting's really bad. I'll read that one more time. It just means that an organism that's suited for the environment is going to survive better. I mean, think about it. If you lived in Canada, would a big burly beard help you stay warm? Yeah. So someone with a beard in Canada might have an easier time than someone who can't grow a beard. Keep your face warm. It's cold up there. Okay? But when you're thinking about animals, guys, and how it relates to them, if an animal evolves and has a trait that's desirable, that's suited for the environment, it'll survive and then pass that trait on to its offspring. All right, selective breeding. Selective breeding is just choosing the mate for an animal in order to get the most preferred genetic traits. For example, horse racers. If you have a horse that's fast and strong, you're going to want it to mate with another horse that's fast and strong, so its offspring will be even faster and stronger than before. If you want a purebred dog, you have to make sure that that dog reproduces with another purebred of its same type, or you're going to get a mixed dog, right? So selective breeding can be beneficial because we can make animals larger. We can make things larger. All right, we can make things more resistant to diseases. A lot of fruits and vegetables are crossbred so that they can favor the dominant fruit, the traits that survive the best, so they're more resistant to the disease or things like pesticides or insects or mold. All right. This next one seems like a lot, guys, but it's really not. Mostly just writing letters down. We can do this pretty quick. Page 82. All we need to write is A for asexual, S for sexual. Remember, asexual means you have one parent. Sexual means you have two parents. All right? You're going to have identical offspring for asexual. You're going to have different offspring for sexual. All right? Asexual doesn't allow for genetic variation, while sexual allows for diversity. So one parent, asexual. Two parents, sexual. Specialized sex cells, sexual. We have to have sperm cell, egg cells in order to reproduce. Identical to the parents, that's our asexual. Since you're splitting or creating a copy of yourself, you're going to be identical to your parents. If you're asexual, we're not, because we are sexual as human beings. No genetic diversity, asexual. And a greater variation would be if you had a sexual reproductive system, because you could spread genes around. You could mate with different of your species and create a better genetic pool. All right, let's talk about parts of a cell. Now, I heard that you guys covered cells before you left for school last year, right? Animal and plant cells? Perfect. So the nucleus, guys, what does the nucleus do? It controls the cell. It's like the brain. What does the cell membrane do? It controls what goes in and out. The cell membrane lets certain things in and lets certain things out. It regulates itself. The mitochondria produce energy for the cell. The vacuoles store material. We'll call it a storage area. Usually, a lot of the time, it stores water for like plant cells. And then chloroplast, good, photosynthesis, allows for photosynthesis. The chloroplast is what allows for photosynthesis to chlorophyll. It allows sunlight to be turned into food. What two things can you find in a plant cell but you can't find in an animal cell? Good. Cell wall and chloroplast. Why do plant cells have a large vacuole? Because plant cells store water in their cells. Animals can store water in all kinds of things. Our muscles, our stomach, all right, our blood. But plants can't store water that way. They have to store water at a cellular level inside their cells. They have to store it inside their cells. So to store water. (40 through 45, it just asks us which one are acquired traits and which ones are inherited traits. Acquired means that you learned it, you were taught it, you looked at, you observed it and learned how to do something. Inherited means you got it from your parents. It was passed down to you. Hair length. Can you cut your hair at any time? Yeah, so that sounds like it's acquired. Dimples. If you got dimples in your cheek, does everybody have dimples? Not everybody has dimples. And if your parents have dimples, you got dimples. That's inherited. Flower color. The color of a flower is passed down by parent from parent. Good, inherited. Scars. Good, acquired. You get your own scars. Hopefully your parents don't give them to you. Body weight. Body weight, acquired. Freckles. Inherited, good. All right, there's a few different levels of organization for organism, guys. It goes cell, tissue, organ, organ system, organism. Cell's your smallest. Tissue is when cells come together. Organ is a group of tissues. An organ system is a group of organs. And an organism is a group of organ systems. All come together makes an organism. All right, so 46 to 50, cell is C, the most basic unit of life. Tissue is E, a group of similar cells performing the same function. Organ is B, a group of similar tissues. Organ system is A, organs working together. And organism is D, all that rolled into one. It wants us to fill in this chart right here, guys. Prokaryotic, eukaryotic, let's start there. Prokaryotic, all right, means no nucleus, simple cell. Eukaryotic is a complex cell. Think of plants and animals, okay? Is grass a plant? Therefore, it's eukaryotic. You can write E for eukaryotic. Is a shark an animal? Therefore, it's a multicellular organism, complex organism. Bacteria are made of one cell. Therefore, they're prokaryotic. But mushrooms are organisms, complex, so they're eukaryotic. Autotroph means you make your own food. Heterotroph means you consume food. Grass makes its own food through sunlight, so it's an autotroph. A shark can't create its own food, it has to eat, so it's a heterotroph. Bacteria can only survive off of other organisms. It's a heterotroph. And a mushroom can only survive off of decomposing, dying, living material, heterotroph. It consumes. Unicellular and multicellular, it matches right up with eukaryotic, prokaryotic. If you're eukaryotic, you're multicellular. If you're eukaryotic, you're multicellular. If you're prokaryotic, it means you have one cell. You're unicellular. Asexual, sexual, or both.
Sorry for the interruption. The student Ayana Berkeley.
Grass can be both asexual and sexual.
Berkeley, 10th grade. So please report to the office.
Sharks have to find a mate, so they're sexual. Bacteria does not have to find a mate. It can split itself, so it's asexual. And mushrooms can either produce with a mate or produce asexually. They're both. Oh my gosh, we're almost done. Thank you guys. You guys are so awesome. And you guys can't eat when you leave. All right, skeletal and muscular system. All right, explain how the following systems work together. Guys, the skeletal system is structure, and your muscular system gives you movement. They work hand in hand. You wouldn't be able to move that skeleton without your muscles. Your skeleton wouldn't be able to be held together without your muscles. You wouldn't be able to move without those muscles, I meant to say. Excretory and digestive. The excretory is removing waste, while the digestive system creates waste. That's how they're linked. You digest food, then you poop it out, or pee it out, or sweat it out, or hair. All that's waste. Hair is a waste byproduct from your body. They're dead cells. Respiratory and circulatory system. Well, you breathe. When you breathe, you bring oxygen in to your blood. When you breathe, you're putting oxygen into your blood, and your circulatory system carries your blood throughout your body. Yes. You guys are awesome. You guys can leave your packets at your table in a nice stack. I'll put them up for you. You guys will just help flip some stools on your way out. You guys can. Great job today, guys. I really appreciate it. Good work.